I'd like to call to order the January 28th, 2025 meeting of the Los Virgenes-Malibu Council of Governments Governing Board. Will the executive director please call roll?
Penny Sylvester,
Here.
Aniko Gold,
Here.
Mary Ann Riggins,
Here.
Ray Pearl.
And I'm here too. Okay.
Ray. Yeah. Okay, I didn't hear Ray, but I see Ray.
Here, Terry.
Ray, can you? Okay. Okay, you have everyone present.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Terry. Does anyone have any changes that they would like to make to the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Penny Sylvester so moves.
May I have a second?
Mary
Riggins.
Will the executive director please call roll?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Mary Ann Riggins,
Yes.
Penny Sylvester,
Aye.
President Weintraub.
Aye. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the governing board? Terry, have you received any public comments electronically?
I have not.
Okay, since we have no public comments, we will go to item number 4. Now we're moving on to election of officers. The COG's amended and restated joint powers agreement states that the governing board shall reorganize at the first regular meeting in January of each calendar year. The terms of office of the president and vice president shall commence immediately following the elections. The city of Agoura Hills will continue to serve as COG treasurer. The nominations are now open for president.
Alicia, I'd like to nominate Penny Sylvester from Agoura Hills to be the COG president.
Thank you so much, Ray. Is there a second? Well,
Yeah.
I'll second. I think we all will. Are there any other nominations for president? If not, Terry, will you please call roll?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Mary Ann Riggins,
Yes.
Penny Sylvester,
Aye.
President Weintraub.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Now I'm going to turn the meeting officially over to Penny.
Thank you. So the nominations are now open for vice president. Are there any?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Ray Pearl from Westlake Village to be the vice president of the COG.
And I'll second that.
Great. Any other nominations? If not, the nominations are closed. Will the executive director please call the roll?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Mary Ann Riggins,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub,
Yes.
the President Sylvester.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Before moving on to the consent calendar, I would just like to thank Alicia for her year of leadership. We really appreciate everything you've done for the COG. Thank you.
Thanks, Penny.
All right.
Yes,
Great job.
me too. I would like to say thank you, Alicia,
Thanks,
for
Kelly.
your,
Thanks, Alicia.
Thanks, guys.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Moving on to the consent calendar. Sorry?
President Sylvester, if I could, maybe.
It's the whole point if you're just letting people go in. It's an optical illusion, right? It's like
Yes.
having a crossing guard.
Hey, could somebody
So,
who's ever there we go. We might want to recognize Mary Ann and Ray as new board members.
Excellent. Yes. Welcome, Ray, and welcome, Marianne.
Officially, I understand Malibu just reorganized last night. Is that right, Mary Ann?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Well, nice to have you with us.
I am happy to be here. Very excited.
Good.
Okay, sorry.
No, thank you, Terry. We'll now move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items will be approved in one motion unless removed for separate discussion or action. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent calendar? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
I second.
Thank you. Will the Executive Director call the roll?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Marianne Riggins,
Abstain?
Alicia Weintraub,
Aye.
President Sylvester.
Aye. Information items. I would like to introduce Ara Nigerian. Do we have Ara? Is he?
Yes,
We
I'm
do.
on.
Oh, yes, good, great, thank you. Our representative on the Metro Board who will provide an update from Metro and the 2028 Olympic Committee. Ara, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And most importantly, thank you for the support that the COG gave me in my re-nomination to the Metro Board. I very much appreciate that. The Olympics are coming, and this is something that Metro has had its eye on for at least 10 years, even before the games were officially bestowed upon our city. Mayor Garcetti at that time was very active in lobbying for the games. And we do have them now, so we're very excited about that. This past summer, most of the Metro Board did travel to Paris to observe either the actual games or the Paralympic Games, and we came back with some observations. At that point, Metro was really going through a security crisis, which has eased a bit, but we were very concerned about how France and Paris was handling the security situation. And it was very, very much tied into transportation, obviously. Transportation stations and the bus depots were the hubs of where many of the residents, attendees were going, as well as meeting at the front of the games. They had many layers of security, and it kind of blew my mind. And it starts from the very basic volunteer who is able to maybe translate into a particular language or point directions to the visitors. Then we had something a little more formal that we saw, more or less like our ambassadors. They had some sort of basic authority bestowed upon them by the Olympic Committee or by the city of Paris. Then we had security, contract security, unarmed, but somewhat more formal looking in uniforms. Then we had the armed security, independent contract security, many layers. It keeps going. Then we had the City of Paris police, and I understand Paris at some point did not have its own police force, but they were solely relying on the France National Police. But there were some sort of local police, gendarme, I guess they're called. Then we had things like the National Guard, which was a step above police. Then we had the National Police. Then we had the actual French military at these spaces in their military jeeps, their helmets, their fatigues. So if anybody wanted to cause trouble at those games, they would have really had to think twice, because it was completely loaded with security from the basic to the most extreme. On top of that, there was all sorts of video surveillance. So you really, if you're willing to put your civil liberties aside for just a moment, it felt very secure. You never felt like there was anything going on. All the buses, subways, stations, games were very much secure. Now, Paris has a great metro system. LA Metro will never rival Paris's system, but we're going to try. And we had At some point, we had gotten very bold and we said this is going to be a car-free Olympics. And then we realized that might be too much of a statement, biting off more than we can chew. So our new catchword is that these are transit first Olympics. So we're going to be making as much transit improvements in the LA basin that we can. And a lot of this, of course, is built upon our existing rail, our existing bus. We're in the midst of renting buses from transportation properties all over the United States. And the idea is that we're going to have many different transit hubs throughout the region, places where there will be parking, where you can go park your car in a safe location, but there will be a fleet of buses ready to take you to any particular event or venue or location. You know, there were many non-athletic venues that Paris had set up, which were very exciting. They called them the houses, like House USA House was a location in Paris, a large location where people from the USA, if you missed the USA after a week or two in Paris, you could go in. It's a complete localized experience with shops, foods. Of course, there were big screens for the game, bars, restaurants where you could get together. So people are going to be going not just to the games, but to these other locations as well. So this is what Metro is really working hard to do. We don't want people to try and drive to the actual venues. A few lucky, fortunate, patient, wealthy people that perhaps could afford a arena side parking may get that opportunity, but very few. So the big push is to get people on these hubs, on these buses. And we are going to increase the security, maybe not as much as Paris had, but it is going to be a very secure system, especially the transit system. And we are ramping that up. One of the things that we've already started in anticipation of the Olympics that we will continue to use are metal detectors in all our railway stations. And we're going to expand that to a smaller system for our buses. And these are very convenient and very unobtrusive gateways. It's almost, like the old style gateway. You tap your card and the gates open. This is going to be a little bit larger, but built in will be metal detectors. So no one with a gun, with a knife, with a metal rod, or anything that looks or that sounds and is detected as a threat will be able to pass. So that's something that we've just started in Metro. It's going to continue and get more refined for the Olympics, and we hope it will continue. Now, it is a big challenge for us to be ready as a region, but we do have a couple of dress rehearsals, fortunately, for the LA area. One of them is the World Cup. We have several games that are going to be in the region for the World Cup. We're going to try and use that same model of transit hubs to get people going. We're also going to have the Super Bowl coming up. I believe it's in 2 years as well. So these are events that we're going to be really trying out, dry running, if you will, our transportation hub system. Hopefully, it's going to work. This is a big deal for our nation, for our state, for Los Angeles, and we really want to make sure that the transportation system is not a glitch. Now, as far as your COG goes, I don't think there are too many locations that are close. I think the Sepulveda Basin is probably the largest location that's going to have several games and activities, archery, BMX, freestyle, BMX racing, skateboarding. There's also the Riviera Country Club is going to be having the golf, and there's going to be hubs throughout. We are, and it's not just transit. We're also supporting bicycling. And I know some people are, I mean, myself being one, is not sure how bicycling fits into the overall scheme, but we are going to make improvements at all our hubs and try and create bike lanes from those hubs to the arenas and stadiums where those that really want to bike there can do so. France had a lot of bike lanes set up, incidentally, for their Olympics. They had closed many times entire streets just for bicycling. I think the bicycle culture is a little stronger in Paris than it is out here, but nonetheless, we don't want to foreclose any of that for those that wish to participate. We're going to have dedicated lanes. You know, when we talk about those hubs, you're thinking, oh, well, gee, that's great. They're just going to get in the 101 traffic that I have to get through every day. No, we are going to have dedicated lanes for the transit, for the athletes, for the officials on the 405 and on the 101, some of our more difficult freeway areas. Hopefully, we'll be able to adjust the work schedules. I remember in 1984 at the Olympics, perhaps some of you were around also, that worked very well. There literally was no traffic on the roads during the day. Deliveries were extended, work schedules were shifted, vacations were planned, and time off. So it worked very well. Metro does have a sense of urgency, though. I mean, once you start getting into the details about all these items, everything from restrooms to concessions to translations to signage, we are pretty, we're not at the freak out stage, but we're very concerned. We're really dedicating our resources. Mayor Bass has appointed former LA City Council member Paul Krikorian to oversee a lot of the LA City projects to make these games work well, especially in the transportation realm. He, of course, was on Metro with me for many years. So we're hoping that that's going to work out. As we get closer, we're going to know a little bit more about what's planned throughout the region, and especially in your COG region as to what's going on. But it's really an exciting time, and it's going to be upon us before you know it. I mean, it's already 2025. We're going to blink, and it's going to be 2026, and then it's going to be game time almost. So that's how Metro is moving forward on this, and we're very much hoping that this will be a success, a shining success for our region, and we can proudly show off Los Angeles to the world.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Alicia, I see your hand is up.
Thank you so much for the great presentation. I had a question. If, in terms of transit hubs, I'm thinking what's the closest to us out here, and I'm thinking the Orange Line off Canoga. Would that be one of the transit hubs?
Yes, definitely. There will be a, as I see here, there's a mobility hub at the North Hollywood station, further, I know that's further east from you, but we also are going to have one at the Orange Line Balboa station, which gets us into the San Fernando Valley. And these are major hubs. We may decide that we're going to have mini hubs as well, pop-up hubs, if you will, to get people for particular events that are we feel going to be well attended. We may go, and that's still in progress.
So the furthest west would be Balboa.
So far, that's
Okay.
the furthest major hub that we have that we're intending to place.
I was trying to think, okay, and I was trying to picture where parking is there, but okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, things will be very special during that time.
Mhm.
There will be, of course, what good is a transit hub if there's no place to park when you get there? But we're going to make sure that if you do drive to the hub, that there is going to be parking available.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Safe parking, secure
Yes.
parking, and convenient for anyone that wants to use it.
Right.
Perfect. Thank you.
Marianne?
So obviously Malibu is often a destination place for tourists and things like that. Is there going to be increased metro both from the west side and then possibly a connection over to our COG cities and the 101?
Yeah, that remains to be determined. We do realize that we don't want to just and it's a two-way, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't want to visit Malibu? Let's say you're coming from, Czech Republic, and you've heard so much about Malibu, and you're here for the Olympics. We want to make sure that there is availability of public transit from those hubs as well to to those destinations. Maybe not as regular as we would expect a game or an event to be I mean, in Paris, they were rolling like 1 minute after each other, perhaps a more calm pace to get to those regions. And I'm happy to, I mean, it's a very good question. I'm happy to work with the COG. If you guys have some ideas as to what you would like to see, how you would like to tie into the games, the excitement of the games through a transit hub and perhaps a terminal point in Malibu or in Calabasas or in any of the cities out there. And all of your cities are very great and they have their great attractiveness. Let us know, maybe through Terry, and we can start. Now would be an excellent time to raise that and see what sort of planning we can do for transit connections to those destinations.
Yeah, anything we can do to, I'm sorry, Nico, anything we can do to reduce the amount of car traffic would be highly accepted by our region, or at least
Sure.
my city. I know that.
I agree with you.
Anika?
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. I just have a comment. I hope that we can match, if not exceed, the security measures that Paris had, because a lot can happen between now and the Olympics. And I think we should never do less. We should always do more. And, technology will improve. So I think the safety of our guests and our own citizens is incredibly important. So I would emphasize that security should be not less, but more than what Paris implemented. And I know I wasn't there, but just from what you explained, everybody felt very safe, and I think that's super important.
Yes, good point.
Anybody else? I'd just like to mention too, following up on what Marianne said, if we could have some sort of mini hubs from each of our cities to the Balboa line that wouldn't run as frequently, but then would avoid people having to drive from, say, Agoura or Malibu or Calabasas to the Balboa hub, because we'd already have like mini hubs here, and maybe they'd run every hour or something, and that would also help bring people out if they wanted to come and see our cities. I think that would be, so we sort of get fun. And the other question I have for you is the metal detectors. Who is going to be monitoring them at all the stations? Or are they going to be unmonitored? Because you're going to need a lot of people.
Well, yes, it is. Metro is currently in the process of developing our own police force. So we do believe that by the time the Olympics comes, we'll be fully staffed with our own force. And on top of that, you know, it's going to be layered. There will be, much as in Paris, there'll be armed contract security, unarmed contract security, our ambassadors, our volunteers, but then going up from our own police force, we are going to still be very closely tied to the LA County Sheriffs, LAPD, and then we get into the federal National Guard, federal troops. That's really, I think, up to our federal partners as to how they want to do that. But everyone is committed to that.
There will be some human presence at all the games.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. So someone has to be attending those, and an officer has to be attending or present at those gates, because what it does is it will sound an alarm if it detects a metal object. So that person is then immediately contacted and searched, essentially, to see what it is that rang it. So it won't be fully automated, only as to the detection. The apprehension and inspection will be live law enforcement officers.
So are there going to be more barriers put up? Because, you know, we take the metro down to the LAFC games, and a lot of those stations, there's like nothing. You can just walk onto the platform and get on the train. So that's all going to be reinforced.
Yes, there will be. There will be, by the time the Olympics comes, everyone getting off the platform or on the train is going to have to pass through a metal detector.
Right. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Kelly.
Hi, Penny. Also, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh.
I am, at least. Yeah, you could move. Anyway, okay. So I'm on the subject of the mini hub that Penny mentioned. It's my opinion in Westlake that we would be very much in favor of that. Maybe Ray, you can weigh in on this, because we have 2 luxury hotels in our city, a Four Seasons and the Westlake Village Inn, and those are going to be very attractive to people who are coming from other countries, because, you know, Westlake's super nice, of course, as you know, and also it's very accessible to the beach, Malibu, you know, what Marianne was saying and all of that. So, you know, I know the hotels individually will likely want to tie in with their own shuttles, but a hub in the Agoura, Calabasas, somewhere out here area would really be beneficial. Huge. And also, not to mention the wildlife bridge, you know, they'll want to drive by it and look at it. I mean, you can't actually go on it or tour it, even though some people think that actually can happen, but that's something too. You know, there's a lot out here. There's, you know, some beautiful, obviously many beautiful hiking trails and that kind of thing. So 100% what Penny said on the mini hub.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. I'm getting a sense as to strong support for that.
Good,
President,
thank you. Yes.
If I could, a couple of comments. First of all, I'd like to thank Ara for his continued support for our Measure M funding and past Measure R funding in our area. His support and his board deputy, who I work with weekly, Vivian Riscalvo, who's also on the call or in the meeting, just are tremendous partners for us in coordinating the funding allocations that we receive from Metro, and then assisting when there's a little bump once in a while in the road, which we occasion from time to time. So it's really great. And then so I just want to thank him for all of that, and whatever we can do to help get you reelected through the city selection committee. We'll try and coordinate that.
Thank you, Terry. we've been working together for a long time, and
Yes, we have.
I think we've been pretty good. We've really brought home the resources to your cause.
Yes. Yes, we have. Thank you. And thanks, Vivian.
All right, thank you, Ara. Well, I attended in 84 and I went to Century City and every day I just bussed down and it just worked perfectly. So if you can pull that off again, everybody will be very happy.
Okay,
So thank you so
that's
much.
our goal.
All right, moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Michael McNutt, Public Information Officer from Las Virgenes Municipal Water District, who will update us on infrastructure issues at the district.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be with you today and to be able to talk about one of my favorite things, water, the other being the Ohio State Buckeyes because they're national champions. But that's a different conversation to have. So everybody knows, obviously, that we've been hit with some fires and stuff. And at first glance, it may not seem like our district is directly impacted by this. But I think that our district footprint is somewhat deceiving. We cover about 122 square miles of area, and a lot of that is the unincorporated areas of LA County and the Santa Monica Mountains. And so we lost about 106 homes because of the Palisades fire. And we opened our emergency operations center really it was before 6:30 in the morning on the 8th. If everyone knows, I mean, the 7th, and when those winds came through, they were whipping and ripping through there everywhere because of that just incredible storm. It was hard to get an idea of exactly what was happening and where it was. Once we had daylight came, we had the opportunity to understand that we had an impact in our service area. So we opened the emergency operations center and we immediately staffed it. And was staffed for probably a week straight, 24 hours. Because that the fire has come through and structures are burned doesn't mean our job is done. So what happened was we have one specific tank called Saddle Peak Tank, and this is sort of like the southeastern quadrant of our service area, sort of like Montanito, but behind that, just like Piuma Road down Las Virgenes, back up in there. That was the area that burned. So what happens is when a fire comes through in any area, one of the things that happens is when the structures burn down is that water okay. Thank you. That what happens is structures burn out and the water doesn't stop flowing to them. It actually continues to flow into the burned out structure. So one of the issues that it's not really an issue that we had, but I could jump and say that even the system in the Palisades and everywhere else, they would have the same issue. When you have structures that burn down and water continues to flow through them, it does put additional stresses on the system for performance. And we can't do anything and nobody can do anything until the fire is kind of gone through there and it's deemed somewhat safe for response personnel to get through there. And so our water district employees, either later on the 8th and potentially the next morning, started physically having to go there and shut water service off to all of those burned out homes to stop the hemorrhaging of the system. So what did we do throughout this entire time? We monitored our tank level, and we never ran out of water. All of the hydrants still had water to combat the fire. All of the homes still had water service going to them. So there was never a disruption in service at all. Once we kind of got through all of the sort of like going in afterward and looking at the system and doing what we need to stop water flowing throughout the burned out structures, The tank started refilling. The next step we had to do was start doing water quality testing. And what that means is we have to go look at both chlorine residual as the disinfectant in the system, and we look at something called a BAC-T sample, and it uses the bacteria coliform, to as a determining bacteria to find out if the bacteria levels are low enough or if they're too high. And so what we found out was the system actually performed incredibly well. All of the parameters were within water quality standards, strict and stringent water quality standards. So the water, even after the fire, was safe to drink. So we do not have infrastructure in that area that is made of plastic or PVC, which a lot of the other systems have. And so the pipes are made of steel, and the connections to the service lines to the homes were made of copper. So that was actually a good thing for us. Setting that off to the side for a second. When the fire started going down, the first thing we had to do was we sent out Everbridge notifications. That's our mass notification system we use. That will ultimately can send it to the entire service area, or we can pinpoint where we send it. One of the things we asked those people in that area that were impacted to do was conserve water. Conserving water for the idea that there could be still other fires, and to make sure that the first responders and the firefighters had as much water as they possibly could have to combat saving structures or businesses or, anything in the area, just to help put out hot spots and stuff like that. That was one of the things we do. Because the chlorine and the BAC-T levels were what they were, we also sent out a notification to the entire service area, letting everybody know that there was no need to boil your water. As the day kind of progressed, I believe we probably did that maybe on the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of misinformation going on out in the world. People get their news and their information from all sorts of different sources. So just because you think that people know, they don't know. So we started getting some texts and maybe some emails and some phone calls about confusion. As an example, somebody had texted me a screenshot of a headline from People magazine, of all places, that said LA County residents need to boil their water. They didn't distinguish it. They just said everybody does. So the idea was, okay, well, I guess everybody needs to boil their water, and there was confusion. So we took the extra step of notifying the entire community that, in fact, they did not have to boil their water and it was safe to drink. Some of the other things we did, we had put out different statements, some from the general manager specifically talking about how water systems function, what they're meant to function, how they're meant to function, how they're engineered. And that was to help kind of get the media and other citizens to understand that what they were hearing and what they were seeing, there was that these systems performed the way that they were supposed to perform. But the main problem that happened was the demand was so great that those tanks in the system could not fill them back up with water fast enough, with the demand putting on the system to put out and save structures, put out the fires and save structures. We have worked with other agencies throughout the area, specifically LA County Public Works, LEDWP, Metropolitan Water District, and a lot of the reasons was to help ensure that there was a uniformity of messaging. And so we helped do that as well. I guess that's probably, and I guess we're here right now. We've officially closed the EOC. And I guess at this point in time, we're just kind of continuing to help our community in any way we can from the burnout of all those structures. As a different, if you put that on the shelf for a second, we also know that the Kenneth fire came up through there behind Hidden Hills, and kind of started slowly getting into, the Agoura area. No structures were damaged. The fire crews put that out very quickly. Aerial drops, you name it, it was put down. And so we were blessed and dodged a bullet, so to speak, with that. So we didn't have to actually respond to that specifically. So with that,
Mike,
yes.
briefly mention real briefly the interconnection with 69 Bravo too.
So there was a connection. Okay, so and we can get into this and you can ask questions and all, but one of the components to having a successful water system is to have connections to your neighbors. One of the best examples is our recent connection we have now with Cayugas Municipal Water District, intertie connection. We also have one, albeit very much smaller, to District 29. So this connection that we had with them serviced a specific area in their service area, which was also putting an additional stress on our Saddle Peak tank. They also lost an incredible amount of homes that specific interconnection served. But again, no hydrants ran dry throughout this area. But we do have a connection with them. And but that's specifically what Jeremy was talking about. And one of the biggest needs of that also is that, if I'm not mistaken, and Jeremy, forgive me, maybe you know, again, I don't want to misspeak, but that was also a connection that would help firefighters have water for I believe from like their snorkels. Am I right, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
And so we also helped in that regard for the aerial drops on the flames. So we helped supply that as well. But with that, that's kind of just a big overview of everything that we were dealing with and that we went through, and everything that maybe I thought you would want to know.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
I just have a comment. Mike and Jeremy both. I think what this fire highlighted for all of us out here, I mean, certainly Malibu's experience was different than the other 4 COG cities because of the huge impact. But there's a little bit of an information gap that happens with our media in Southern California, because they were essentially speaking for LA City and LA County, and then our COG cities sort of get left out of that, which leaves our residents looking to each one of our cities. I just want to say that when that boil water order was issued, I thought Las Virgenes Water District's immediate response to that was incredibly helpful, because there was a lot of confusion, and we did get a lot of texts and phone calls and messages. And I thought it was a great example of how our COG cities need to, I mean, it's almost combat the Southern California media, because our story is different and the way in which we're disseminating information is different. And then secondly, Mike, you said something that was important to me, and that was the uniformity of information and the consistency of information that's going out. And I think that's especially unique in our 4-city region. Certainly, like I said, Malibu, slightly different because of the dramatic impact the fires had on their community. But I thought the Water District did a great job of helping inform our residents as soon as possible.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to us. Thank you very much.
Alicia?
Thank you so much, Mike. The Water District did do a great job with all of the communications. The question I had, you talked about with the intention, how all of these systems were built. And I guess the question I keep hearing from residents is, if we had a fire as big in our own district of the Palisades fire, that many homes, how would our water system have held up?
I mean, like, that's a big hypothetical question. I mean, that's going to be dependent on so many different things.
Right.
Let me elaborate on this a little bit, because we kind of did some deep dives into this. These water systems are engineered specifically to obviously deliver water to homes and businesses, and also to combat a fire at the largest structure within any service area that a water district serves. And that could also mean, different things here and there, maybe not just one physical structure, but like different fires within the system. So it's not putting a massive strain on it. So from what I know, what one of the biggest issues, and this, I'm not speaking for LADWP because I don't know everything, but generally speaking, when you have something like that, which is unprecedented, I'm pretty sure that virtually none of us had ever experienced and saw what we saw on TV that happened like that. That was an insane wind event. It was terrifying, to say the least. And you kind of just knew that like something was going to go down, but not at this level. But when wind is driving those flames and it's just leaping from one thing to another, to another, to another, and there's hundreds of firefighters, I would almost assume that virtually every single fire hydrant within the Palisades area was being asked to perform at like a very high level. And those water tanks just were being drained and drained and drained. And then we start talking about the burned out structures with the system just hemorrhaging water into them because there's nothing anybody can do about it. With like one, okay, let's put it this, let's do a visual. You have a bowl of water. The bowl of water is any given water tank. You have 100 straws in that bowl of water. During a normal, regular, any day, just like today, that tank is going to be able to service all those straws in that bucket just fine. No worries whatsoever. That's how it's functioned. That's how it was designed. But then all of a sudden you think about what just happened with those fires. Now all of those straws, with the exception of one, so 99 of those straws are trying to draw as much water as fast as possible out of that water tank all at the same time. And the only one straw that's in there is the only one that's putting water back into the tank. So that's kind of what happened when it comes to stress on that system and why it didn't work. But getting back to just as a context, so getting back to your initial question, I'm not really sure that there's a way for us to say how it would work. I think it's super dynamic. I think that we can just kind of look back at how the Woolsey fire kind of transpired. And that was a major wind-driven event. I think we're probably always going to have structures that we're going to lose on something of that magnitude. As far as like how we would ultimately perform, I don't think that I can answer that. I'm not trying to not answer the question. I just don't really know. And I don't think we would know at all. I think we would do the absolute best that we can. But one of the things that I would like to also suggest is this area has done we put so much focus on this. All the cities and all of our electives have put so much focus on trying to educate and inform all of our homeowners on how they can take additional responsibilities for themselves to harden their landscape and create defensible areas at their homes. And I think that would help our system function more properly during an event like this if we would all collectively do more things ourselves. But that's probably a different discussion. I know that doesn't directly answer your question. I'm really sorry. I just don't think I can answer that properly.
No, I appreciate the response, and I think it's an honest answer to share, and it is important with the home hardening. And also, I think, so many people in our area have tools and different tools that can help with that. But just the ongoing dialogue, and I know we really appreciate the partnership and anything that we can do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We do too. We can't be as successful as we are without all the partnerships that we have with you. And one of the things I was thinking about when Ray was talking was maybe at some point in time we could have a conversation about creating sort of like a COG communications network kind of thing. So if there is an emergency, we kind of know who we should be talking to, and we can maybe get some better ways to push out information to our residents. That's just a thought.
Great idea.
Marianne?
Yeah, I've got one crazy out of the box question, and then, our city has in our public works, or excuse me, in our public safety department, we actually have retired firefighters that do free home hardening assessments. And I know the community brigades are also providing that service. So if you don't already have that and you want to come to us for a resource of finding out what they're doing, please just reach out. The kind of off the wall question I have, is there some way of creating something like with a smart meter or something where it kind of detects that there's a major demand currently on the system, and so it kind of shuts that meter down? Or also, do the fire hydrants, are they just on the same system of delivery that the homes are? There's no separate parallel line or anything? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No, there's not. Thank you for bringing that up too. We actually have advanced/smart meters throughout the service area, but what that means is not that we can manually turn them or remotely turn them on and off. It's more broadcasting usage information to us. And so we can kind of keep our fleet off the road, and that helps with obviously greenhouse gas emissions, et cetera. That's one thing. But the other thing is we have a system called a SCADA system, and that system is meant to monitor our water distribution system remotely. And so that's what we were doing throughout this fire as well as the Woolsey fire. And we can look at our tank levels. If we see drastic drops in them, then we kind of have an idea of there's something going on. Maybe we can send out personnel to actually see on the ground what it is. And then we can take different actions to stop like the hemorrhaging or to manage what's going on there a little bit more effectively. So we do have that as a tool for us to use from a water perspective.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, Mike.
Sure.
First of all, for the homes that burnt and the water was just gushing, going forward, should we be educating when our residents evacuate that they should turn off the water supply to their house?
That's an interesting question. I don't think that I don't know. And here's the reason why. One part of me says, yes, let's do that. That would be great. The other part of me goes, if somebody tells me to evacuate, the last thing I'm going to think about is turning my water off. I just want to get the hell out of there and make sure I have all my stuff, and then the third thing might be like, would there be a liability from us to tell people to do that if they're like telling to get out? Like, I don't know. I'm just bringing it up. I don't know. I mean, it's not a terrible, we've thought about that a little bit too. But having somebody like, oh yeah, I got to get my water off before I go, just in case my house burns down. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it is something that we should discuss and think about.
Yeah, and secondly, some houses I know in my neighborhood have now put up roof sprinklers.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the tax on the system for that? I mean, if everybody suddenly went and put up roof sprinklers on, that would drain the resources as well, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is some of the problems is when you have a fire like we've had, either one, the Woolsey fire, the Palisades fire, even thank God the Kenneth fire didn't get too far around. You're going to start, anything that anybody does is putting a demand on the system. When you are a person that is when you're told to evacuate, it's a mandatory evacuation and you stay behind, one of the things you're going to do is probably take your garden hoses out, turn your sprinkler system on, whatever it is to try to protect your home. One of the problems with that is that, like, I think that the fire personnel know better than you do on how to combat a fire to save more structures. But if you're at your own house trying to do your own thing, you are putting additional demand on the system that the fire department could be using for other places because they know better than we do on how to combat a major fire. But also now where you as the homeowner staying behind are putting yourself in danger and the first responders in danger in case they have to come and get you out of there. So like, I know that people do that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but to directly answer your question, yeah, it puts additional stress on the system.
That's another discussion to be had.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions from anyone?
Penny, can I make a quick thing? Mike did a great job of outlining, but I just want to make sure that everyone here is aware that there's an invisible boundary at the Malibu and Topanga city limits outside of Las Virgenes. And most of their water comes from the Colorado River, where all of our water in Las Virgenes comes from the State Water Project, 99%. So there's this invisible boundary. And we don't have strong interconnections between the two districts, and I keep bringing that up. But I want to give a huge thank you to Supervisor Horvath's office. I see Sophia's here and Daniel's here, because we put in a $95 million federal request for Malibu Canyon Road interconnection to construct a 24-inch diameter transmission main line that will improve our interconnection. We've also put in $20 million for pumping and conveyance enhancement to the tank Mike was talking about. And then also for emergency generators so that we can pump the water and share it into the two systems, because those systems are not very well interconnected. And so we're working to fix that. And big thank you to Horvath's office for getting this onto Biden's desk. And now it's in the queue for our federal delegation.
Jeremy, one last thing. Thank you for bringing this up. One of the other components to response is to deploy generators to tanks to make sure if in fact electricity goes out, because these pumps that pump water into the tanks are run on electricity. If the electricity goes out, there's damage or whatever it might be, there's generators able to continue to pump water into the tanks specifically for firefighting needs. And the last thing I'll say is anytime that there's a red flag warning, what we do as a water district is we will always make sure every single one of our tanks is topped off, meaning there's as much water in it as possible. And we may also go ahead and strategically place some of these generators just in case something goes down like I was referring to, just to let everyone know that. Thank you for having me.
All right. I've had a request to sort of move up some items because one of our voting members is going to have to leave at 10 a.m. So is everybody all right if I skip ahead to our legislative and agency partner updates, and then we'll go to the voting measures and then, and then come back for Terry's report. Any objections? Seeing none, I will move to Captain C2. Jen, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. My apologies. Okay, I don't even know where to start right now. So update. We went out of Unified Command at 8 a.m. this morning. I will be heading over to Pepperdine. We will be doing a transition from CAL FIRE to locals. A little bit speechless right now. Just want to say, I gotta thank Drew Smith and Kevin McGowan, just the amount of work that we put in before this fire, and to just really see, like, was it, a disaster is always going to be a disaster, but even the stuff that we did the soft closures on Topanga and, relocated the Topanga Elementary School. And, I remember Drew and I being at the command post and we just looked at each other. We're like, that saved lives today. And so it's just, I know it's been a rough road for all of us with this fire, the Kenneth fire, and super thankful to all the city managers. And I know I've kind of been absent dealing with this, but reaching out to Lieutenant Carr, reaching out to the staff, Drew and I are always available for you all. But thank you for your patience on this. Thank you for showing up at Unified Command. I know every city sent a person to Unified Command and to get the information. And that's where the magic happened, is at Unified Command and getting that information, attending those cooperators meetings. And I'm sure you guys have questions. I'm sure I have more to say, but I will just kind of leave it at that because I'm a little speechless right now.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of all of us, Jen, thank you. I mean, you really have done an outstanding job, all of the first responders. So thank you so much. Any questions?
I just want to say a thank you to Jen and everyone. Herculean efforts that you all did, and we're all so grateful.
Thank you. All right. I hope you get some sleep soon, Jen.
Thank you. I'm here if you guys need me, okay?
Lovely. Thanks so much.
I just wanted to say a big thank you also. The sheriffs in Malibu and everybody that they brought in have been absolutely wonderful. And you guys have done an outstanding job. And even though we can't repay you, we appreciate you there every day.
Thank you.
I'd like to add one more thank you to that. You guys have been amazing, but I want to throw in Megan as well. She has been the connector. I'm getting weepy between our offices and keeping that information flowing. So we have really great folks in our cities. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
I just wrote one thing, Penny, when this all kind of settles, I'm out here talking to my deputies right now, and they're kind of telling me what happened that day of the fire. I just want you guys to know the heroic actions of our deputies and our firefighters. Like, I'm learning some of the stuff that our men and women have done. And like, I'm just utterly speechless out here talking to our personnel and just what the true heroic acts that our personnel did. It is just, I'm speechless. So, you know, when things happen, when it gets calm, I do want you guys to hear from our deputies of what it was like that night or during that day and what they actually did. So I will just kind of leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Do we have Fire Captain Chief Smith?
I don't see anybody.
Okay, great. I'm not surprised. Sophia, are you ready?
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. Sophia Sudani-John with Supervisor Lindsay Horvath's office, and echoing the comments of gratitude to both our sheriffs and our fire department. It has been a very long 3 weeks, but it's reaffirmed to me, and I'm sure the rest of our cities as well, the partnership and the teamwork that we all have together. I mean, seeing Mike on the line, seeing Jeremy on the line, when we've talk about water resiliency and we talk about interconnectivity, when we were having issues, whether it was 69 Bravo during this latest fire, and we had Jeremy calling me up, and we worked together to make sure that we had water everywhere that was needed, and make sure there was teams on the ground, and making sure that, you know, it doesn't stop. It does the lines of bureaucracy. We cut through those real quick. And I just want to thank everybody here on the line that came together to try to give support. I will just say, you know, post fire, a lot of work is being done on the county and how we can support our residents. First and foremost, I will say if anyone's able to tune into the Board of Supervisors meeting today, there's a lot of recovery actions that are being taken place, including recognizing our incredible fire brigades at today's Board of Supervisors meeting. You may have seen some of the work that they did at the Franklin fire in December. They were even more critical at the Palisades fire and beyond. And we're really grateful for that work and seeing how we can expand upon the services that they've been doing in the county and beyond. Just a couple highlights I will say for the Board of Supervisors meeting today. There's going to be an ask of a report back on the alert and evacuation system from our Office of Emergency Management and from our sheriffs. I know we've seen a lot of concerns regarding the alert system and where there were flaws, where we can improve. So we're going to be asking that at the Board of Supervisors meeting today. There's going to be introduction of a wildfire recovery grant that's going to be introduced for, I believe, over $30 million that's going to be dedicated to businesses, to residents. And I'm happy to send out all of that information once we get through the Board of Supervisors meeting today. There's going to be an ask about our water supply and resiliency of Waterworks District 29. And thank you, Jeremy, for bringing that up as well. One of the big priorities that we're going to have post Palisades fire, we had about 8 different fires, probably more at this point, happening at the same time in the 3rd district. And one of our big priorities is making sure we have that redundancy and hardening of our water infrastructure throughout the Santa Monica Mountains and beyond. A huge item that we have on our agenda right now is also the Los Angeles County recovery efforts and building urgency into implementation of long-term disaster support. That's going to be everything from building and safety to planning to how we treasurer and tax collector, all our different departments to make sure we are expediting things on the ground for recovery efforts. We're cutting through red tape and we're making sure people are getting back in their homes as quickly as possible. So again, I'm happy to send a recap of there's some pretty big items on the Board of Supervisors meeting today. So I encourage all of you to attend if you have a couple moments, but I can send a recap on those items as well. And then another big item that I want to mention, and it was brought up at the Malibu community meeting this last Saturday, is as of this morning, our right of entry forms for debris phase 2 removal are now available online and at the Disaster Recovery Center. I know originally they were saying about a week. The supervisor intervened and said, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for our residents. So it is now up and live. And I can put that link on the chat for that as well, that residents can sign their right of entry forms for the debris removal process for phase 2. And just to clarify, we are starting phase 1, but we want to make sure residents are getting that form in. It's going to be due by March 31st. And then last but certainly not least, I wanted to introduce my colleague, Daniel Vicente. Some of you may know him. He has now been promoted and will be a field deputy for this region. I am switching a little bit of roles at the office. I will be the emergency management deputy. So switching things a little bit, you're not getting rid of me that easily, but we're going to have a new field deputy, Daniel, that's going to be covering these regions. And I am very excited. You are in great hands, and I will pass it over to Daniel in case he wants to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Daniel.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thankfully, I'm not a stranger to, I think, most of you. I've been working at our Calabasas office for about 2 years. I've been our constituent advocate, then our senior constituent advocate. And so I'm just grateful to get the chance to work with you guys even more. And if you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. I'm going to drop my cell phone number as well as my email in the chat, and look forward to getting to know everyone even better.
Welcome, Daniel. We look forward to working with you. Thank you. I see I have a little, does anybody have any questions for Sophia or Daniel? And of course, please send our regards to Lindsay Horvath. She's been outstanding. I mean, my goodness, everybody has. I have a quick request from Metro, Nick Fox. You just wanted to say something quickly? Is Nick here?
Hi there. Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Just real quick, I wanted to let everyone know that for victims of the wildfire, we are offering a free transit pass for 90 days. And after those 90 days, 20 free rides every single month. So I'm putting in the chat a link to any of your constituents who may have been impacted by the fires, or anyone that you know who needs some extra support getting around the city, getting around the county. They can go to this wildfire response tap to go and sign up for a free pass. So thank you, Mayor Sylvester, for the moment. That's all.
Okay. I think Jeff had to leave us for a bit, so we'll skip him for now. Hopefully he'll come back. Oh, Officer Sturgis, CHP.
Good morning, everyone. So I have a sort of brief update today because we mostly focused on our response to the fires this month. CHP focused mostly on road closures and looting patrols with regard to the Palisades fire as well as the other fires in the region. We had more than 800 officers deployed from the region, and we also had our special response team activated. Our special response team were the ones focusing on looting patrols. And then our Malibu task force officers, they continued their enforcement duties. And they were finding that there was a lot of issues with the intersections having the blacked out lights due to the power outages. People need to be aware that that is to be treated as a four-way stop. So they were making a lot of enforcement stops on people, residents coming in that are driving straight through full speed at those intersections with other residents at other points of the intersection. So they've been making stops in there and kind of educating people on that. But I think that's something that would be important for, especially in Malibu, for the people to know that they should stop for those blacked out intersections. We didn't make any arrests of any looters. But we did arrest 2 for forging sheriff's press passes. So the sheriffs have their own press pass, and that's considered a government document. So they forged a government document, and the district attorney is actually pressing charges against both of them for that. And it can be a misdemeanor or felony for those. And then looking here, residents in the area, they need to prepare for large mudslides, especially near the burn areas. We have already had some of those with the rain this weekend on PCH and on Topanga Canyon. There's good resources on the county website. I can post those links in here that can help residents prepare for mudslides and know when they need to evacuate. And there's also another page with Public Works, County Public Works. They have a mudslide forecast page as well. So I would say for a little bit, when there's wetter weather, expect more road closures near the burn areas. Crews have been working around the clock to fully reopen PCH and Topanga Canyon, but they still need more time. We don't have a timeline right now on when it's going to be fully reopened. Now, PCH, they have residents only right now, but the stretch on Topanga Canyon between PCH and Grandview, that's still fully closed. We had a maximum enforcement day on the 24th. I don't have the stats for that yet. And then we're looking for next month. We typically have one of those once a month, as well as in and around the holidays. So especially on the travel days. And then, so for any kind of major traffic updates, our department focuses on putting those updates out on our respective X pages for each office. So if you follow our X page, you'll get up-to-date information on major closures. For the fires, I was putting out all the road closures and stuff like that when they changed multiple times a day to keep people updated. So for the future, when we have a major incident like this, you'll find a lot of our traffic updates will be on X. And then I didn't receive a lot of any real reports of widespread issues on our end for our response to the fire. But I was wondering if you've heard any concerns that I could bring up to management here.
Any questions? I actually have one question, because some residents were complaining when they had those intersections that were blacked out. They said the officer was just ticketing people, and they said, why wasn't the officer standing in the middle of the intersection helping direct traffic? They felt that would have been more constructive. What is the answer to that?
So it's all personnel. So even though we were all deployed on, say, 12.5-hour shifts, most of those officers were assigned to fixed posts, with very few that were roving. So on PCH, especially, that would be considered sheriff's jurisdiction. However, for our task force people, their whole purpose is enforcement on PCH.
So they can write tickets, but they can't.
They can, but it would just be one. I mean, they have like maybe 2 officers out there at a time on some days. There's some overlap. So, I mean, they could maybe stand at 2 of those intersections, but there's tons that were blacked out. I saw a lot of the pages for the cities like Malibu. I did see they were posting that treat these as 4-way stops. So I think there just needs to be more of an education effort on it. Because as far as personnel, to have, one officer at each intersection with how many were blacked out.
I know, no, I agree that you don't have enough, but the comment was just, well, that officer could have been at that intersection rather than writing tickets. So I'm just passing that along. Thank you. Great. Any other? Yes, Kelly.
Me?
Yes.
I mean, in response to your thing about the officers at every intersection, I mean, I just have to say that kind of stuff just super irritates me, because that's impossible. They can't be there. And, if you're dumb enough to just drive through a blacked out intersection without, stopping and waiting for the other 3 sides of the intersection, you deserve a ticket. I mean, I'm not sympathetic to people like that. That it's just, you know, it's in the middle of an emergency, and you need to start paying attention and looking out for yourself and your neighbors, not worrying about getting a ticket. Sorry, I just had to vent. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think that was people that were obeying it, but felt that there was just so much congestion when they were trying to evacuate. So they felt maybe it would have been faster, you know.
That's a whole, yes, I agree with, a whole other problem that we all have. Yeah, so.
Good. All right, thank you so much, Officer Sturgis. Okay, any other agency partners? Because then I want to get on to the action items. Have we heard from all our agency partners? Great. Okay, so let's move on to action items. Measure M, confirmation of the $2 million in LA County Measure M funds the governing board previously approved for Malibu. Terry, would you like to present?
Yes, thank you. The governing board, as you know, approved the $2 million in LA County's funding that comes through the COG for Malibu for the 2 roundabouts that they're going to build. And at the time when the governing board approved it, we approved it like we normally do, and that was to make it effective July 1st, 2025. However, I subsequently learned that Malibu and the county had discussions that I was not included in, and they were talking about having 1.5 million available in the current fiscal year and the additional 500,000 available in the 25-26 fiscal year. So subsequent to that, I had a conversation or several conversations with Metro, and we were able to get that on the agenda, included in the COGS allocation. However, we just need to make we just need to have the governing board confirm that the allocation will be 1.5 million into the current fiscal year and the additional 500,000 in the 25-26 fiscal year.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the reallocation of 1.5 million for the current fiscal year and the remaining 500,000 for fiscal year 25-26?
Is it appropriate if I make the motion? I'll make the motion.
Yes. And I'll second
that.
it.
Okay, will you take a roll call?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Marianne Riggins,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub,
Yes.
President Sylvester.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on, consideration of forming a task force to address utility outage duration and communication issues. This was placed on the agenda because of the recent high wind alerts and subsequent devastating fires. Does anyone want to comment on their city's experience with communication issues prior to and during the wind event? Or is this going to take too long? I mean, at this point, we have a rep from SCE. I would like to welcome. Where is do we have an SCE rep?
No, we don't. I
Okay.
thought that they were going to be on the meeting.
Okay, we do have Stephen Sawyer. Stephen, would you like to make any comments about how, you know, I mean, I'm just speaking for Liberty Canyon, but they lost any connection for days, and I'm sure in parts of Malibu it's the same thing.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah, we were, obviously impacted by the power outages that affected our nodes. Our crews out in Malibu were able to provide temporary connections to areas that are habitable. We're still working with DWP and Edison to re-energize parts of the area. And we responded, to whatever calls we had that came in to give updates. I don't know if anybody in the meeting had any specific issues for me to follow up on, but our crews were out there immediately when it was safe to be able to restore service as quickly as possible. And I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Who would like to start? Anyone? So maybe this is why we're going to have the task force. I would just like to say, Stephen, for our residents who were sort of without any communications, we've learned from this incident and we don't want to go through this again. So whatever we can do to make sure that there are more backup generators that last longer than 24 hours so that we, keep all our residents informed, especially when there's an impending fire, barreling down on them. So that I think I'm sure everybody would like to form a task force to address these issues, but I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to form a task force.
Thank
I
you.
second.
Okay, Terry? Oh, so we should refer this to the city managers for discussion at the TAC meeting and report back to the COG in February or March. So we don't need to take a vote on that, Terry, or should we?
I don't think that we need a motion. I think that if it's just referring it to yeah, let's go ahead and do a motion, and that way it'll be official that it gets go. And I have the motion made by Marianne and seconded by Aniko. So I'll call the roll. Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Marianne Riggins,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub, and President Sylvester.
Aye. All right.
Alicia notified me that she had to step away for a minute to take a
Okay.
phone call.
Well, we'll.
I'm happy to vote yes in her stead. This is David Shapiro.
Oh, good. Thank you, David. Well, I look forward to that because I know there's some long discussions to be had. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to our information items. Terry, would you like to do the executive director's report?
Sorry about that. So I'll make this brief. I know that we're starting to run up against our usual adjournment time. The first thing that I'd like to update is the thing that's been taking a majority of my time, but it's very exciting, and that's the Regional Smart Cities Fiber Network project that the COG is working on. And we did get delayed because of the fires first fire in December, and then the subsequent fire, and trying to coordinate with everyone and get everyone's comments back. But the design engineering is complete, and it has been sent to the COG cities and to Metro. The COG cities agreed on Monday to provide any comments that they had within a week, and then it will be finalized. The COG received 5 proposals for construction project management services. So we need to form a committee to review those and schedule interviews. The construction bid package is in draft form, and as of yesterday during our meeting, is being finalized. And we expect to have that posted on Planet Bids by mid-February, and the proposal for the construction would be due in 30 days. The consultant, as you know, reviewed the Astound's proposal to operate, maintain, and expand the COG network, and we still need to have a meeting with the COG subcommittee to discuss that with them. And then finally, based upon the input from the consultant and the timeline that we're working on now, we expect that site preparation is estimated to begin in May of this year, with actual construction to begin in June. And the construction timeline is expected at 12 to 14 months. And most importantly, this will be based upon having 2 construction crews and obviously doing night work in Malibu Canyon, because we realized that, even though we're just doing boring, we're not doing major So it will go faster, but there will be some impact on traffic. So it would be obviously better for congestion in Malibu Canyon if we do that at night. So that obviously is going to affect some of the costs that are included in the ultimate bid proposal that we do receive. But we're still very optimistic that that we have the funds allocated. If there is a need to, if the bids do come in a little higher, obviously the governing board and the city managers would take a look at that, and we would then come back with a recommendation. It might be to add some additional Measure M funding for the project, but based upon everything so far, we feel pretty confident that the 14.5 million that we have allocated in Measure M funding, and that's what the construction estimate is 12.5 million, and then we expect an additional 1.5 to $2 million for project management, construction management services. Happy to answer any questions just about that item because I know it's very important to everybody.
Any questions?
Okay, very quickly, the homeless count, as all of you know, has been postponed and will now take place on February 18th. I'll be coordinating that at Calabasas Senior Center. We will have an update from LA County Superior Court regarding the no cash bail. David Slayton, the court administrator, was scheduled to participate at our meeting when it was scheduled for last week. He did have a conflict today, but indicated he was available to provide that update next month. Let's see. And then very quickly, as a follow-up to the discussion earlier in the meeting with Ara Najarian with regard to the Olympics, I do have a new contact in Mayor Bass's office. As I previously reported, Sarah Rascone from the mayor's office reached out to me. We held a meeting to discuss what the COG priorities were, and I mentioned to her, obviously this was before the fire, but I mentioned to her the importance of Measure M funding and transportation funding from Metro, because Mayor Bass does have a number of representatives on the Metro board that could impact projects that we're working on. She was very supportive of that. And then I discussed the homeless issue, and then of course the Olympics and how that could impact our area and what we could do to support and provide and receive additional information on that. So I'll be working with her and reporting back from time to time on that, or if any of you have any questions that I could fast track, I would also be happy to do that. And that concludes my report, I think, for the main items.
Thank you so much. Are there any follow-up questions for Terry? All right. Before we move on to city updates, I do see that we have Hope Chrisman with us from the CPUC. Hope, do you want to say anything? Do you want to make any comments?
Hi, no, I wasn't prepared to speak. I just wanted to listen in today. If you have questions, let me know.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot from us for follow-up from Edison, but this is not the day for it. So thank you. City updates for Agoura Hills, Nate.
All right, thank you, President Sylvester. Just very briefly, just want to recognize, during these times that we've had the fires and winds, just the great group of elected officials and staff that we have in all of our COG cities. I especially just want to say something to Joe over in Malibu. Did a great job going through, and hopefully we're all able to support you moving forward. With that, I'll move to our city updates. Our big thing that's coming up is we are sponsoring a Ladyface Film Festival, which will start next week. It's going to have a lot of great films. They'll be played locally. everything from documentaries, a variety of different topic areas. And so I know President Sylvester has been actively involved in that. So looking forward to that. And we also will, combined with that, we'll have our winter art show taking place next weekend as well. And then just real briefly, as it may be, we are in the process of doing our wildfire risk assessment and then our community protection plan. So those are underway. And so we have a public survey that will be going out and some public workshops that we're going. So I'll share that with the surrounding cities as well as we continue to move forward with that. And then just the final thing we have are, there's a project on Agoura Road. We have 278 housing units or apartments being built. That construction is expected to start in the next couple of months. So we'll see that moving forward. And I know a lot of you will probably see that from the 101. So just bring that up. And then President Sylvester, I don't know if there's anything further you'd like to add.
Well, I would just like to add that we're not competing with Calabasas' film festival because ours is solely a documentary film festival. So it's bringing something different to the region. So I invite you all to drop in and join us. Thank you. All right, Kindon for Calabasas.
Good morning, everybody. First and foremost, I echo Nathan's sentiments. It was great to work with this team in so many different ways, both at the staff level, and they see the elected support and encouragement throughout this process, but also their wisdom and experience being played out. I was especially privileged, as many of the city managers were, to participate with our COG elected officials in a meeting hosted by the Assemblymember Irwin and the Speaker Rivas. It was wonderful to see such a unified voice in that meeting, and I compliment each of you. With that in mind, and not to take up too much time on that, our council has directed staff to really look at the issues with Southern California Edison. We realized very quickly, as I think many of you said on that first meeting with Edison, with 300 plus participants, that this is a much bigger problem than each one of us individually, and probably much, much bigger than even the COG. It's going to require the help of our state assembly and state senator. It's going to require wonderful leadership from our county supervisors and probably multiple supervisors from various counties to make the changes that we need to see happen. One of the things that's at the forefront of our minds right now is the debris from the fires. We're starting to get preliminary information that much of that debris will be transferred to the Calabasas landfill. As you can imagine, there's some concerns about that, of what that might mean to our community, to our schools, and to others. And so we're starting to mobilize and address that as well. And then just one other thing to report. Prior to the fires, we were very active in rolling out Firewise community programs, and we have seven HOAs or neighborhood associations. 8 now that have either started that process or have already been approved. And we anticipate that pace will pick up, especially after the recent events. But we compliment those residents who are being proactive and really trying to harden their homes and do the right thing to prepare in advance. With that, Councilman Shapiro, anything else that you'd like to add?
And I'm here too, Kindon. I'm back.
Oh, hi, sorry about that, Alicia.
But you covered it very well.
All right. Gloria?
If you don't mind, Penny.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Nancy.
Talking about debris from phase 2, right? Not phase 1 debris.
That's what we're trying to figure out. We don't have all of the information yet. We know there's a lot of moving parts, and so we're trying to jump into that. We've already reached out to Sophia and others, but Nancy, I'll share with you the information that we have so you can be aware of that as well.
There was, Nancy, just to add, there was an article in a paper and also some communication with the landfill directly to the residents that found their way to us. But Sophia and Aaron have been really responsive as well.
Okay, thanks so much.
Gloria?
Good morning, everybody. Just again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but thank you to the city managers, the council members of this COG. You guys have been very supportive. As you know, Hidden Hills had a very near scare with the Kenneth fire, and so we appreciate the response of the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department. We were lucky enough to have our public safety manager, Mike Grant, actually make the 911 call, which resulted in the 2 airdrops that were very important. It got a control over the fire, and so it made a big difference. And so thank you to everyone who supported us. Even the water department reached out to us. So this is a great community. Also, the city of Hidden Hills, we're working, prior to this fire, we were already working on an ordinance to address red flag warning periods to prohibit some of the possibly fire spark equipment. That's going to be going back to council in February. So I'll be happy to share that with the city managers if they want to look at that. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now, Joe, we're all in admiration of everything you've accomplished the last couple of weeks. So you have the floor.
Well, thank you, President Sylvester, and to this group. It's something I mentioned last night, and I think all of us know we're really extensions of our team and our organization. And so it takes all of those folks to have such a great effort. And we have an amazing group of folks. We're a small organization, as everyone is here. And you have to rise to meet a very large demand. So we've done that. And it really took our partner agencies to help us with that. So everyone here has been extremely supportive. And then, of course, extra supportive Calabasas, Westlake, Agoura, helping out, jumping in, letting us use your spaces, which was great. Great to see other city halls as well, so that we know that there's some good blueprints out there. But no, we really appreciate all the support that everyone's given us. And we still have a long road ahead, obviously. We've really transitioned from that exigency emergency to more of a recovery emergency mode, and then trying to transition that into a longer term rebuild recovery effort. And I shouldn't say permanent rebuild recovery because we don't want it to be forever, but we meant more of a stable long-term recovery rebuild effort of our team. And we're trying to create a separate office for that right now. That'll be adjacent to our city hall at one of the buildings right next to us. And as Officer Sturgis said earlier, PCH is now open to residents and disaster workers only. We are continuing to push, and sheriff's continuing to push for businesses to try to get through there and expand it more, so that we can try to support everybody. And I know that's a major gateway for all of us. But of course, it is dangerous. There's a lot of crews out there. So even when it does get open, it's pretty much one lane. So it's going to be backed up. So it's a delicate balance of encouraging when it gets to that point of how much to encourage people to try to find other routes. But we are trying to do our best to open that up. And then our team last night was on an EPA FEMA meeting. We were told, and it was confirmed that they're trying to finish phase 1 by the end of February. So that was what was communicated to us. It seems very ambitious, but that's what was communicated. So I know everybody's working really hard from all of our legislators to coordinate on this effort and push all the stakeholders and agencies to get moving. I think for phase 2 and some of those other efforts, other longer term efforts, it's really difficult for them to pin down some of those times. But obviously everybody's on it. And I think from state and federal representatives, they'll keep pushing on all the agencies to put as many resources on this. So doing our best there. And then of course, we've created a central hub as best we can for all that information. Malibu, our website, malibuscity.org/Palisades fire. So we try to gather all the info and other relevant websites that we can link to, like the LA County Recovers page as well. So we'll keep updating things there. So those are my immediate updates. And I know that the Mayor Pro Tem also had some comments.
I just want to echo our thanks to all of you. Your support through this has been amazing, including Assemblymember Irwin, Supervisor Horvath, Senator Ben Allen. You guys all came together and had our back, and we really, really appreciate it. Between all the fires, I just kind of added the number up in my head of the last 6 or so years. We have had over 1,200 homes affected by this. and a couple of businesses and things like that. So, it's a major task for any city to deal with, but especially one so small as us, and we couldn't do it without everybody. So as Acting City Manager Tony said, we are going to be looking for a long haul on Pacific Coast Highway being affected by this, and depending on any weather that we get, obviously Malibu Canyon is going to be impacted. So anything you can do to encourage residents to try and use alternate routes, I think it'll benefit everyone in the long run. I know it's going to be impactful with the 101, but thank you for that support. And I really hope none of you have to go through this. So let's continue to work together to improve our communities so that we're as resilient as possible and we don't face the destruction that we have. So thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. And as always, we're here to help you. Okay, so last but not least, Rob.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Yes, just as we wrap up here, much appreciation and gratitude from the entire Westlake, family to all of you for your support and the coordination and spirit in which we all responded to these events over January. Fortunately, Westlake Village was not impacted in the same way as Malibu and other cities, but nevertheless, we're committed to supporting our colleagues that have had greater impacts than us, and we know that your road to recovery it's not over. It's going to be a long road, and we're there to support you throughout that process, or whatever we can do. Just a couple of other updates from us. We do have a new mayor, Kelly Honig. There was appointed mayor for 2025. Congratulations, Kelly, and Mayor Pro Tem Sue McSweeney. We also assigned all new committees, and that's why we have Ray Pearl here as our COG representative for the year, which is great to see as well. And the last thing, just of note, we did our goal setting session last week with the council. It's always a really important meeting in January that we do, where we take a moment to sort of reflect on the year past and think about the things that require extra focus and priority for the year ahead. And so I can talk more about that at a later time, but just, a few of the things that came out of that was, which is probably the case for all of us, is the renewed commitment to home hardening for wildfire and community resilience is going to be our number one focus for sure. We're going to be updating our 10-year strategic plan as a city, which is going to be an important effort this next year. And public safety and economic development also rose to the top as things we're going to focus on as a city in 2025. So there's just a few updates from Westlake Village, but Ray, if you have anything to add, or Kelly?
No, seeing none. All right, are there any comments or requests for future agenda items? None at this point. Great. So future meeting dates. The Technical Advisory Committee will meet next week on February the 1st, and the next governing board meeting will be February the 18th. Any comments? If there's no further business, the meeting's now adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe.
Thank you.